of the conference in that division. I think some of the hires, obviously the transition with Ed Ogeron, the Matt Canada hire, which I think can prove to be a very positive one, but I do think that maybe some of that optimism needs to be tempered somewhat. But right now, there's a lot of folks, and a lot of folks probably that have LSU allegiances, so their fan base, et cetera, that are very excited about where that program is headed. That being said, far too many question marks, I think, that still exist within the program and even on the coaching staff. No question that Ed Ogeron is probably a different man, would have to be, with the amount of time that has transpired since his last head coaching stop. And at the same time, we don't really, I think, know from a full body of work standpoint what it looks like with Ed Ogeron at the helm at LSU for a full season. We haven't seen it yet, and we certainly haven't seen it with the staff that's now assembled there in Baton Rouge. We got players are not going to be available. I mean, a lot of them are going to be helping some NFL rosters this next season, really talented football players. The difficulty, or maybe it's the beauty of college sports, is that it's not static, guaranteed. Maybe the largest challenge is the fact that to have a dynastic presence in college is really hard to do because you've got guaranteed turnover as far as the most they're that talented, and they move on to the professional ranks. And so you've got to have someone else to backfill. So it's turnover with the coaching staff. You've got different guys. He had some success last year. He's going to have to do it with different coaches and with different players. That's a lot of turbulence, a lot of upheaval at the same program.
2 years ago, there was a lot of turbulence where you are right now concerning Mark Richt as he headed for his last year. There doesn't seem to be any now, even though Kirby Smart's first season was pretty rocky. A lot of optimism there, Matt. Why?
Well, I think part of it's the SEC East. I mean, every team in the SEC East, I think, is probably pretty optimistic because when you look at the teams within that division, who's your dominant program? And Florida's probably the most underappreciated program with back-to-back division championships. And yet I don't think anybody's really fearful of where the Florida Gators are right now. Maybe they should be, maybe they shouldn't. Regardless, hope springs eternal, and it probably springs the most in the East Division, and justifiably so. There's not a dominant program on that side of the conference. I think that's part of it. The other part of it would be you look at a defense that returns largely intact, albeit missing a pretty key piece at their star or money position, nickel position. Quarterback obviously has to evolve, but you've got 2,000-yard rushers that probably didn't get to perform as well as they could have a season ago due to injury and underperforming offensive front, a young quarterback, a new offensive system. All of those things potentially could have been addressed or have been addressed during the offseason, but the proof will be once 2017 starts and they crank up the scoreboard and turn on the lights. Up until then, it's a ton of conjecture, but plenty of reason to be confident about what's happening at the University of Georgia. When you look at just that East Division race, they got to perform a lot better than they did a season ago, but they've got a lot of pieces, a lot of the components that you would want, and a lot of carryover from a staff stability standpoint, albeit in only year 2 under Kirby Smart, that you'd like to see, plus an injection of a lot of young talent with the emphasis on recruiting. I think some of these young guys are going to have a chance to contribute early.
Matt, let me ask you about Jacob Eason, because certainly he had, by most accounts, a really nice opening year, but I was somewhere the other day and ran into a dog fan, and he couldn't stop talking about Jake Fromm. I know that's typical of the new guy coming in, but what do you see there in Fromm? And I realize it's early, but is this going to be a competitive quarterback race?
I see a catalyst at the very least in Fromm. A talented guy, no question. Now, if you want to look at just, if you were to take the components of quarterback play from a physical standpoint, from a skill set standpoint, it's going to be hard to compare the two, frankly. Jacob Eason has got those pieces. The question will be, does Jake Fromm either take reps from him, or does he improve the play of Jacob Eason because of his mere presence, because of that competitive nature? And we've seen, even in practices, where Fromm is out there not only playing well, working with the twos, has good rapport, has all of those softer qualities that you're looking for at the quarterback position, meaning, is it just arm strength? Is it just mobility in the pocket? Is it